since burnt area assessment has not been very consistent across the country, but Forest Survey of India has initiated this process. And sooner we will have a annual to annual or a biannual to biannual burnt area assessments available to all of us to take management decisions. Then advancing application of technologies in forest fire monitoring. This has been an excellent area which has moved fast in the last year. If you take examples from the state of Karnataka, from the state of Chhattisgarh, from the state of Tamil Nadu, there have been incredible level of application of GIS technology in identifying vulnerable forest areas and mapping those forest areas down to the beat level and then prescribing response arrangements and mitigation measures. So these have been the major gains which we achieved in the last forest fire season. Now we look at how the large forest fires behaved over the years. As you can spot here, 23-24 witnessed a slight decline, but then the tendencies and patterns are same. That means our ecosystem still needs to be engaged with a greater level of precision and capturing the dynamics of forest fire incidences in the country. And of course, if we categorize and segregate in terms of frequency of incidences, we have top 10 states, Uttarakhand with 21,000 cases of incidents being at the top, and Jharkhand with 7,525 instances in the 10th position. But then somehow or other, these states have been there in the top 10 states. This is the area where perhaps we have to make an immediate difference. Last year, Odisha was in the top, and this last forest fire season, Odisha went to the second, Uttarakhand became first. But for some reasons or otherwise, these states have been consistently there. Of course, there may be reasons connecting to geography, maybe connecting to the vegetational kinds existing there, or reasons related to the resilience of the forest system itself. But we need to closely examine them and then come out with clear response strategies to take out these states from this top 10 category. This will be a major challenge perhaps we have to deal this year. And then trends in the forest fire incidents in the last year, we can see again Uttarakhand, and the last one was Kerala. Obviously, there many states have demonstrated incredible levels of engagements with the communities, which led to a reduction in forest fire incidences and their quick control as well. So sustainability is a factor in engaging with the forest fire management, and several states have displayed it also. So it's a opportunity available for us to collectively gain from the experiences of different states and adopt what is best possible and then steer the course forward suiting to the local needs. And if we compare the month-wise incidence of forest fire across two seasons, obviously the pattern still remains the same. And the last year we had an enhanced level of incidences. Probably we can ascribe this to the heat wave and related instances as well. But then on a critical examination, you can see that the pattern is same. That means we need to flatten this curves. And this flattening will call for enhanced management, enhanced response capabilities, enhanced preparedness, and inventory as well. And now, if we look at the trends in forest fire dowsing, which I highlighted already, like we achieved a 50% jump in that. Much of the forest fires, more than nearly 75% of the forest fires were doused within 24 hours, which is an incredible position we have compared to the forest fire incidences responded by other countries. And there's yet another area which is a tool of help with us. That's the FSA alert system, which is all about the advance warning. And we have a robust forest fire alert system in the country. And also it's backed with advanced communications on vulnerabilities of the forest landscapes for fire incidences. So we have that ecosystem. What is required is a kind of a enhanced preparedness, taking into consideration all these technological forewarnings we get. And due to the consistent efforts of all of us, over the months, we have increased the registration level of FSA alert system from nearly 295 to 3 lakh plus now. And we request all the states to kindly take necessary measures to include all the panchayats, all the village forest committees, all the joint forest management committees, the disaster management agencies at district level like DDMAs, the fire and rescue services, so that this network is well inclusive, and then coordinated actions and timely actions can be taken to respond to a disaster forest fire incident in the locality. So this is an area where we all have to work, and it has to be targeted in terms of numericals so that we achieve incredible level of penetration in the field, especially in the forest fire impacted forest fringe village areas. And obviously, finance is a requirement. And this has been the flow of finance. We have a considerable amount of finance going from the government of India and also from the state state governments. But then effectively channelizing these finances and timely utilization of the finances are very instrumental. And again, to build up necessary inventory as well. And now let's look at the basic principles of any disaster risk reduction. We have hazard, we have vulnerability, and we have exposure. Probably the hazard is the expression of the risk in its material form. And in the case of forest fires, we have forest floors laden with inflammable material. So that's a hazard we need to first address. So we should estimate, at least guesstimate, or like kind of a control is required over the hazard in terms of its real dimension, in terms of its real challenge. Thereafter, take measures to reduce the hazard. Similar is the case with exposure. Now the forest lands are getting exposed to a varied set of reasons which can cause forest fires. Like if you take the village context, there may be a reasoning that forests are set on fire for grazing or are set on fire for preparing agricultural lands. But in the case of Himachal Pradesh and some other states where tourism is very much like a part of their local economy, there are risks happening to the forest stretches passing by the tourist stretch. This has been established through an analysis with the GIS platform, like how the buffer areas around the forest roads or the main roads falling in the forest landscape, which are frequented by tourists, have become highly vulnerable. So these kinds of exposures also we need to be considered while we prepare our local forest management plans. Similarly, is the case of vulnerability. Forest systems as such have become vulnerable, and they have been further accentuated for vulnerability due to climate change, due to biodiversity erosion, due to like like issues related to land degradation and forest management also. So we need to consider the whole ecosystem, considering this triangle to enhance our response preparedness in the field. And now we have analyzed the scenarios in certain states, rather all states, with respect to the National Action Plan Forest Fire 2018. The National Action Plan on Forest Fire 2018 has given a very comprehensive framework to, to chart out clear actions on the field to respond to the forest fire challenge, if considering all the three factors which Sarah has mentioned in the previous address. But unfortunately, if we analyze this situation, we find that we are missing with the several key links in this all chain of events. Probably this is the effort we have to take to really robust out our response capabilities. We don't have many ticks in the many critical areas, so this is a action we need to do. Of course, we have been engaging with all of you to help you, assist you in closing these gaps. But then the key point is that we have to close these gaps ASAP. And this is true for many states. Several states have done wonderfully. They have closed many gaps, but then some states have to pick up, and those gaps are critical as well, so they need to be closed. And now look at how, at a country level, these gaps have been expressed or they have been closed. If you look at the fire risk zonation map, which is a critical requirement, we don't have in many. And similarly is the case for fire risk zones in forest planning, how the fire risk zones have been incorporated in the forest management planning or in the local level forest fire management response plans. It's not much. We need to gather more. Similarly, the empowerment of communities, which is a clear dimension to deal with this issue at a larger scale. Again, we need to pick up a lot. Similar is the case with the forest floor biomass management, which is the very beginning and the first step in addressing this issue. Unfortunately, we don't have such kind of estimations happening. So I request all of us to kindly get back to your field, estimate the thresholds, estimate the risk levels, and then take precautionary or regulatory measures or preventive measures, looking at the working plans you have in your field. And then promoting adoption of forest fire alert system. This is growing, but then still we need to get greater emphasis on this. At least we should have a registration of 50 lakhs. If you look at the forest fringe villages in our country, nearly 275 million people are there, straight there, and dependent population will be another 200 million. So for even if forget 200 millions, at least we should reach 1 crore registration in the FSI system. That will give a robust anchoring to the communities to know about the risk they are perceiving right in their backyard or in their neighborhood. And again, is this strengthening the engagement with the local communities. This has been picking up, but then scenario is not very encouraging. And uh, next dimension is monitoring and evaluation. Unless we monitor the scenario with clear, verifiable, and reportable indicators, this is not going to make a difference. Like we have numericals, but then we need to have clear targets also, how we are going to attack these numericals and bring down the challenge. And training and capacity, not only for field staff and fire watchers, but also for community firefighters, which is also a greater dimension which we need to really gain control. And equipping the firefighters is another challenge. We have now consolidated the inventory of forest fire tools with the help of all of us. But then let's examine, is that inventory enough, or we need to build further inventory, or we need to modernize it. These dimensions let us discuss and then identify. And restoration of affected areas. This is yet another clear dimension which is required for the vital. So spoke about forest management is instrumental to forest fire management. But after the fire has impacted the area, we should restore it also. Otherwise, this forest will go into repeated cycles of forest fire incidents, because the resilience to forest fire will erode with each incidence of forest fire. And unless we restore back the resilience to the forests are going to be repeatedly vulnerable, and it will just lead to a different kind of ecosystem as well. And then interagency coordination, which is a very key dimension. We have a session on that, but then this is an area which has picked up, but then to be further consolidated. And if you look at state-wise, we have tabulate the issues with respect to top 10 states. We find that a lot of space to improve. Similar with Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, Himachal Pradesh, Assam. Even Assam, we don't have data either, so we need to help with that. And then, yes, when we summarize, we need to take actions to clearly disrupt this vicious cycle of forest fires. And this will clearly call for enough preparedness, enough preventive measures, uh, and timely response and measures to recover also. As Sarah has mentioned, this is the right time that we are right in the onset of the forest fire season, and let's take all these measures very instrumentally to the field and to make the difference in this year. And now I would like to highlight few key concerns and actions required. First is on the forest fire risk reduction and disaster risk reduction. We need to have targeted action for active management of forest floor fuel management. Without this, we won't be able to make a clear dimension, because as long as you don't handle the risk, we can't handle the risk itself. We should know what is the risk, what is the extent of risk, and then we make strategies for that. And then reducing the exposure to the forest fire risk through preventive protection and surveillance measures. This is to be strengthened in the field. And robust and scalable community-based approaches are very key to this all, because without community involvement, the skeletal level of staff available in the forest department won't be able to make a difference. In the country, like almost nearly all of the forest departments are running with a HR level of nearly 50% of its sanctioned strength only. So with that level of capability, we won't be able to respond. So our key lever will be to engage with community. So strengthen this community angle and bridge the gaps to connect them, and then uh, take leverage of that potential. Then enhancing response capabilities, we need to do aggressive training for our staff and also for community capacity building, mock drills, operations based on SOPs, augmentation of the inventory, and saturation of the forest fire alert system. We have requested all the states to do as much as possible to saturate the penetration of FSI alert system in the forest fringe areas, and particularly fire affected districts. And development of community-based response capabilities and enhanced interagency coordination, I have emphasized. And then reducing the vulnerability and enhancing resilience. This is also requirement with the ongoing climate change and unexpected heat waves and floods and all. The ecosystem integrity has been quite questioned and has been like kind of vulnerable. So we need targeted action for mapping the vulnerable areas particularly and improving the water resilience. Sir spoke about the scope for utilizing pine needles in the up Himalayan landscapes where pine plantations are there. So let's improve the water resilience in the forest floor, maybe through water conservation or aggressive measures to reduce desertification or to improve biodiversity so that the forest ecosystem will have its resilience to respond to the incidences and the fires won't make a disastrous impact on forest and the ecosystem services it provides and utilized by the downstream communities. And then targeted action for mapping vulnerable areas by removing invasive species. This is a challenge. Of course, this action has been happening across different schemes of the ministry and also state governments like removal of lantana and so on, and improving the biodiversity index of vulnerable areas. This is one dimension which we need to converge with other schemes of the state and central governments so that the resilience of the forest is restored. And when forest is resilient, the chances of fire is first of all reduced, and even if it impacts, it doesn't really cut into the health of the forest. And then application of technology and innovation, we need to be very aggressive. Last month we had a conversation in Bhopal with all the state governments about the scope, the current state of affairs of utilization of space based applications in forest and wildlife management. To our knowledge, we find that only few states have been aggressively using it, and many are really to pick up. Even the simple technologies like GIS and drone monitoring, drone-based monitoring. So this is an area where we need clear pushing. With this technology application, we can improve our management abilities at field. And then this disaster risk reduction monitoring through periodic updating of forest fire management plan, which is a requirement, annual to annual, based on the experience of the last year. We need to really update our forest fire management plans under the overall prescriptions of the working plan. And then improvement of NDFE collection and processing technique. This is a major area where we need to push. In most of the landscapes in the central and eastern India, NTFE collection is one of the drivers for forest fire incidences. And most of the techniques used in NTFE collection have been like ages old or centuries old. We need to clearly bring an improvement in the technology which the communities use in harvesting, processing, and management of NDFEs. And then monitoring land use systems and land use activities in forest fringe areas and tourism activities, it's at another dimension. But nowadays, technological capabilities are there, so it is easy. And then based on the risk perceptions gathered, let's respond it. And then safety and security of the personnel engaged in the forest fire control is at another dimension. We should have a clear SOP to do pre-operational screening for the personnel engaged and also for the screening of the health screening of the person who are returning from operations. And safety and security of the local population and their assets, assessment of loss and damages, effective monitoring and restoration of burned areas, enhanced utilization of financial resources. This is a dimension I want to highlight. We often have the challenge of resources, but then timely utilization and timely absorbing of resources is also highly critical to really hike up our response capabilities. And then enhanced clearances for utilization of financial resources. This is a point which probably you have to take up with the state governments. We find that we release assistance under centrally sponsored schemes, and then this money is lying in the state nodal agencies account for a longer time, and ultimately it becomes like less effective in its time. So please take up with the state governments also to ensure that at least for forest fire related matters, the state government should release money, the matching grant to the state central assistance given in on time, so that the money can go to the field and realize actions. And then periodic review as per CSS frame guidelines is requested, because we have been having a scheme, but then most of the times the prescribed periodic reviews at the state level may be happening, may not be happening. But if it is not happening, kindly make it a point to do happen these things so that we get effective feedbacking from the system, and also system takes care of its monitoring requirements. With that, I would like to thank you, Sona, for your kind patient listening. We have further sessions focusing on mitigation and preparedness. We can discuss more on that. If any questions at this moment, I'd be happy to take. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your informative presentation, providing context on forest fire and its management in the country. I would now invite Dr. Krishna S. Vats, member NDMA, to deliver the keynote address. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, distinguished dignitaries on the dais, all the colleagues from the Ministry of Forest and Environment and the NDMA, SDMAs. Thank you very much for coming here and making this workshop a success. Yesterday I was in Jaipur attending a large training program on heat wave preparation, and you know we would wonder why would we organize a heat wave workshop in the month of October, when the winter is setting in. But such are the times that we need to prepare for these situations on a year-round basis. The climate change is upon us. We can feel the impact of climate change in our air today, and the air quality is worsening. So the kind of preparedness that is needed for different kinds of situation is ever present. And I really thank the Ministry of Environment and Forests for coming together and organizing this workshop, which is a very business-like workshop. It's just a workshop for the preparedness, working level. All the key officials are here. We would be discussing the early warning systems, its efficacy, how it has worked, how it needs to be improved, how we should improve our preparedness, and the coordination with various agencies, communities. So very, very precise and very targeted kind of interventions. And we expect very clear and actionable recommendations at the end of the workshop. Uh, and I would like to also compliment Mr. Rajesh for making this wonderful, very comprehensive presentation. It gives us a full picture of what happened the last year, what are the issues that need to be thrashed out, and it actually forms the basis for most of the discussions today. For us, the key priority is to step up our engagement with the management of the forest fire. This is a new area for the NDMA and SDMAs, but we are keen to get more and more involved given the enormity of the situation, given its large implications, and given its also connection with many other things that the communities are facing. So as the NDMA and SDMAs are stepping up the engagement with the forest fire management, there are some important issues that need to be discussed. One, of course, is how should we improve our coordination with the NDRF, which has emerged as one of the key responder force. uh, at what threshold the NDRF should get engaged. And I think it's very, very important that NDRF should be asked to get engaged at the right time so that they are most effective. The Indian Air Force is, they are also present. So thank you for being here. They are also a very important responder force, and they also need to be brought in picture at the right time. The second most important thing is how should the communities be also trained in this area. Communities are the responders, and this is definitely an area where NDMA and SDMAs can do a lot. Organizing the volunteers, organizing the communities, increasing their awareness, that's extremely relevant for us. So that's an area of intervention. The third thing that is also important is how do we monitor it on a regular basis, continuous basis, so that we are able to report upon it and take all the other actions that are necessary to bring the situation under control. There is also this issue of long-term measures. And some of you must be wondering, we have been working on a national program for quite some time. The national program had been finalized, submitted, it has also been approved. by the NEC, the National Executive Committee, and now it is waiting for the final approval. We are hoping and pursuing that the program gets the final approval. Once it gets the final approval, I think it will definitely make a bring a big change in the way the forest fires are handled. So we are engaged with the forest fire management on a long-term basis. It's a genuine partnership with the Ministry of Environment and Forest Department. We would like to strengthen this partnership, and we will also, in the process, we will develop our capacities, the capacities of all the responder agencies, and the capacities of the nearby communities to deal with the forest fires. It's a global problem, it's a national problem. We need to remain engaged with this given the enormity and the scale of the situation. So thank you very much for being here. We look forward to a very business-like discussion, and at the end of each discussion, we should have very, very clear recommendations. That's what our expectations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words and for always inspiring us with your commitment and dedication to the cause of disaster management in the country. I would now invite our esteemed director, Ms. Mrinalini Srivastav, to deliver the vote of thanks. Welcome, ma'am.
Very good morning, distinguished dignitaries on the dais. On behalf of the National Disaster Management Authority, we extend our sincere appreciation and gratitude for the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change for co-hosting this consultative workshop on forest fires and the challenges. I express sincere gratitude for member and HOD NDMA, members from NDMA, IG NDRF, IG from Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, ED and IDM, advisors from Fire, and for their gracious presence today. The 19 forest fire prone states who have represented themselves, the state disaster management authorities, state forest departments, state fire services, and the representative from the Indian Air Force. This is a significant coordination, peer learning, and co-sharing experience that we all would have because of your presence today. So thank you very much. We have also received panelists who are experts in their respective areas. We thank them for supporting this consultative mechanism through enriching substantive deliberations. Finally, I would like to thank the organizing team from NDMA, MoEF&CC, and I would like to thank the officials from NDMA, Ministry, NIDM, Directorate General of Fire and Civil Services, Indian Air Force, and state bodies for their presence. I do hope that as the day progresses, this discussion would gather the required body of work and towards our common goal of disaster risk reduction in forest fires. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would now request Sri Rajan Singh, sir, to felicitate dignitaries by presenting a plant sapling. We'll break for tea. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now take a brief tea break. The refreshments are being served in the adjoining foyer, and we will begin our first session at 11:25. So therefore, all are requested to kindly be seated by 11:20. Thank you.